saying that loud. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's episode. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast. Today we have a treat for you, a great guest from this current season of The Ultimate Fighter, Laura La Jefa Gallardo. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. It's an honor to get to have you on the podcast. I've been watching this season. Your episode so far is probably the most inspirational that I've seen this season. For those who haven't watched this season, the episode is called When Opportunity Knocks, and you basically get the opportunity to go on The Ultimate Fighter on short notice and have a great performance. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but it is an amazing entrance onto that show. How did that feel?
It felt very surreal. Like, I was there when we were going through the medicals and they quarantined us for the week, and, being in the hotel room, them coming in, telling me that I wasn't chosen, but to stay ready because anything could happen,
Yeah.
It was heartbreaking at first, because I really wanted it. But I went back home with the mentality of like, okay, well, if I'm not going to be on the show, I'm going to fight. So I was already looking for fights, already preparing myself for a fight. And then I went home on like a Monday, got a call on like a Wednesday, and then left on Friday or something to go back. So when I got the call and he told me, one of the managers or the production team people, he's like, hey, a girl, dropped out. Like, do you want in? And I was like, yes, I want in. Like, yeah, oh my God. It was exciting. My heart just like kind of froze for a second, and then it started beating, and I was like, oh my God, I'm in the show. What
was your weight at that time?
So I had been fighting, my last two fights before the show were at 115. And this weight class is 125. So my weight was pretty good.
Yeah.
And I like to stay within like 10 pounds, maybe like 10 to 12 pounds from my weight class. So I came in like 128, 129.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah. So I didn't have to like stress about it. There's people that were stressing about who they were going to fight and then keeping weight and then weighing all their food and all this. And I just went in focused, like ready to fight, which was.
It was an amazing fight. You have like that Latin, like fighter mentality where it's like you're going to get in there and you're going to fight. It's amazing to see. Jesse, your boyfriend, and I have been friends for a while. He's like my spiritual guru. The reason why I kept doing jujitsu after training there was because Jesse was like, hey man, you could do this. And I was like, man, that is so inspirational. But I was so proud just seeing you fight and knowing that it was on short notice. But I don't even think we really introduced you. How long have you been fighting? How long have you been professional? What's going on in your world?
So I've been fighting I think I started MMA when I was 27. And then maybe 2 years after that, I got my first amateur fights. So maybe 29. But before that, had started with jiu-jitsu when I was like 22. Yeah. And then I transitioned to MMA around like 23, 24. I had told my coach, because I had won Nogi World's Blue Belt comp. Wow. And it was cool thing. And I just kind of thought to myself, like, I love jiu-jitsu. I love learning everything there is to learn because there's always something new. Like you could be doing this move, for a long time and then learn something new. And it's amazing. Yeah. But I kind of told him, like, I just want to do something else. Like I loved martial arts and I wanted to like expand, and learn everything. And I asked him to be my MMA coach. He sent some film of me grappling because I had no wrestling experience, and then went to college. Yeah, I walked on the wrestling team and earned my spot. Like I basically took a spot because I just walked on. I don't think the coach had high expectations of me, or maybe he did. But yeah, I mean, when I do something, I want to do it well. I don't want to be mediocre. So I went there with the expectation of like doing well.
You have such a great wrestling base. Like I would have never thought. I thought you were like a lifer.
No. So I started when I was 23. I started jiu-jitsu. And then when I transitioned to MMA, my coach is like, you need a wrestling base. Like all the great have a wrestling base. And I was like, okay. And I did a couple, I think, folk style classes.
Okay.
And then Japan training MMA. I don't know if you know who Megumi Fuji is.
Yeah.
She's my favorite MMA fighter. So went to Japan to train with her and her coach.
Oh, wow.
And then, yeah, it was an amazing experience. I did that for 3 months thinking I would come back and do MMA and go into like my amateur professional fights. But while I was over there, my coach sent tapes to like all the colleges who had a wrestling team. And it was just tapes of me doing a jiu-jitsu. So they were probably like, what the fuck is this? Like, we don't want a jiu-jitsu girl. We want a wrestler girl. One who's been wrestling since she was 5. But the only ones who were like semi-interested, I think, were Oklahoma and Canada. Oh, wow. And I was like, fuck Oklahoma. Let's go to Canada. So I went on, I went on this recruitment trip. And I thought I was just going to wrestle like in practice with one of their girls, just for them to see me move. Yeah. And I get the coach is all like, okay, well, we have this big, like, I think it was like a nonprofit, like to showcase wrestling in downtown Vancouver. And I was like, okay. And he goes, okay, you're going to go with the 125 national champ.
Oh my God.
I was like, okay. And prior to this, I had only done a couple wrestling classes and I only knew folk style. And I didn't know that like when you do like Olympic style, it's freestyle, Yeah. And then especially women in or college wrestling, it's for women, it's freestyle. They don't do folk style like men. So I went into the wrestling match not knowing the rules.
Oh and
I just knew like that I could front headlock and that I could double. Yeah. And that's all it was, like just front headlocking, doubling. And I remember she threw me once and I was like, oh fuck, I'm losing. And I just got back up and started wrestling, but I ended up winning the match. And I don't even remember the score, but I won that match. And then the coach was like kind of impressed and he's like, okay, you're going to go again. And I was like, I'm going to go again.
Oh my God.
And then they put with someone else and then I won that match. And then he's like, okay, you can come. Like, it seems like you're okay. So I ended up just walking and I didn't have a spot on the team, but wanted to wrestle out I think it's 23 in college, and took someone's spot because they didn't want to do the wrestle off with me. So to be like someone on the team who would go and, go to like different states and wrestle different colleges, and was able to do like the WCWAs and wrestle individually, and then drop down a weight class. And then, I have a whole story where like, I loved wrestling when I started in college. Like it was one of the hardest I've ever done. One of the hardest sports I've ever introduced myself to. Like I walked in and this girl did like a half Nelson on me. And I was like, how do you get out of that? And she's like, what do you mean you don't know? And you just put your shoulder down. And I was like, no, like anything, I didn't even know how to do a duck under in college. Yeah. I asked her and she was probably like, what the fuck is this girl doing here? But I loved it so much and I wanted to, take it as far as to the Olympics. So I was like, if I'm doing this, I'm going to try to get as best as I can. And I did pretty well. Like I was like ranked and was able to go to some world team trials, but never was able to get on like even close to like the world team in the US. Yeah. And thought like, okay, well, let's try Mexico. So I went to Mexico and the year of the Olympics, trained with their girls. And then it was like so heartbreaking. I couldn't because under FILA registering as American. And then I couldn't change my citizenship. And if I would have changed my citizenship, it would have been like a year where I couldn't wrestle for any country. So it ended up not happening. And then I came back, was like super heartbroken. But then I remembered, I'm like, hey, I did this for wrestling. It doesn't stop. I mean, I did the wrestling for MMA. I'm not stopping. So then I just got back into MMA.
Wow. So have you always, because it's crazy, like the anxiety of showing up to a wrestling mat and you're about to wrestle their national champion. Like, have you always been good at dealing with that anxiety and stress? Like even the show of showing up and be like, yeah, I'll fight tonight. Like there's a moment where you and Juliana Pena are talking and like when they bring you in and you're just like, yeah, I'm good. All right. Like, does that come natural to you or is that something you've really worked on?
I've always been competitive growing up. And I feel like when I was always in a sport, I always had this like chip on my shoulder, like no one can fuck with me. Yeah. Like if I'm going to be on the, when I did basketball, if I was going to be on the basketball court, if I was going to be on the track team, if I was going to do anything, like no one could fuck with me. Outside of that, I mean, I do have a little bit of anxiety, but I'm like really good with disassociating my feelings.
Yeah.
So like I can really like go to dark places and let go of like what I feel and just center myself in the moment and just really understand that like whatever I'm feeling, I'm going to have to deal with it afterwards. You know, like when I was on the show, like, of course, people keep asking me like, were you nervous? Were you anxious? And like, well, of course I was all those things, you know, I didn't know I was going to fight first. I didn't know that I was even going to be on there, but it wasn't time to like resonate on that. Like I didn't have time to, you know, like what I wanted to do was get in there and perform and do well and then keep moving on and on. So it was just like go time. So I just like, I feel like I have this switch of it, like, it's time to go. And the chatter has to stay away. And then after the fight, after whatever I'm doing, I can go and process my feelings. You know, I can go cry, journal, I can do whatever. But right now I need to do the best I can.
Yeah. I feel like that's such a superpower and I part of the reason why I like wanted to talk to you is because I see your Instagram posts and your stories, and you're like a very spiritual person, and you're someone who works on their mental state so much, like with journaling and everything like that. Do you think doing those daily activities is what gives you an edge? Like you're always sharpening and keeping yourself, you know, in check, like you're always reflecting. Sorry.
Yeah, I think for me personally, I feel like it does give me an edge, but I know everyone else has their own things that they do that give them like an edge. But for me personally, it just helps me. Like when I wake up in the morning and I read whatever I read, and I like to do oracle cards and tarot cards. I feel like it centers me and it calms me down, and I come back to my breath and I come back to like my truths. And I always think like my spirituality is just like an act of remembering of who I am, what I'm here for, and then always coming back to that throughout the day. So if I don't do that and you just wake up and you're lost in like, you know, the habits that you usually do and the routines, you don't have the time to like sit and reflect, then I feel like you're not setting up your day. So I like to set up my day. I like to remember, you know, why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I like to address anything that I'm feeling. So I feel like when I started journaling, it was just writing, and it helped because I would just write down everything, and it would be like quotes. Or back then in college, I was I was a Christian. So I would listen to like pastors and stuff, and I would write down sermons. It would help. And now like my spirituality has kind of transformed. But yeah, I think it really does help me just center myself and like really ground myself and understand that I'm here and I'm nowhere else, because the mind can go to so many other places. So yeah, it's definitely helped me and given me an edge, and being able to do like short notice fights, you know, or when I did a fight for combates, they switched my opponent like 3 times. And then they moved to class, and then you're quarantined for a week and you can't go out. And it's like, there's so many things you can't control, but the thing I can control is my breath and what I'm doing right here. And if that's fine, then that's all I need. And everything else can happen. And all I know is that like, as long as I can control this, I'm going to perform well.
Yeah, man, people don't realize, the craziness that goes on at especially the amateur level when you're doing like combates and everything where
combat professional.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I feel like, I think my sister competed with them. But I feel like people don't realize, especially for women's MMA, the stuff that goes on where they're like, oh yeah, opponent switch. Oh yeah, 2 days before you got a new opponent. Oh, now you're the day before you have another new opponent. Like that is crazy.
They take weight and you do scratch weight, and you're like, what? I've been cutting this whole time. You want scratch weight? Yeah, it is pretty crazy. But it's just like a understanding that like, you know, nothing is perfect, and you kind of have to go with the flow. Like really, you can't resist, because if you resist, like you're gonna add more stress to your body. You're gonna get more anxious. You're gonna, you know, not do as best as you can. But if you can manage to just go with the flow and do the best you can, then it's going to be okay.
Yeah. What is it like being on The Ultimate Fighter and having coaches, like to just be there with Amanda Nunes and Juliana Pena at just like this high caliber of performers in this sport?
So, being on the show was very weird because, you know, you go in there and you're mic'd up like almost always, you know, you don't take off the phone unless you're, I mean, you can go to the bathroom and keep your microphone on, but I always kept it off, right? and then there's no doors in the bedroom, so cameras can always come
weird.
in. Yeah, it's very weird. And then there's cameras, in your room. So like,
for people that don't know, this is the Ultimate Fighter show where is it 16 contestants?
8 and 8. Yes.
Yeah, so 16 contestants, 8 male, 8 female, and they live in this house for, is it a 5 or 6 week period?
This was a 5-week period.
They live in this house and compete, and the teams are in there and they're walking by each other, watching each other, eating cereal, and it's just crazy. So there's cameras in every room.
Yeah, there's cameras in every room, and there's cameras in the kitchen. There's cameras outside. So you really don't have any privacy but the bathroom, because the bathroom is the only one that has the door. So it was just very weird. And then, like you said, living with your opponents, not knowing when you're going to like fight. On top of that, like the scale was in the middle of the living room or like near the kitchen. So like if you wanted to weigh yourself with your underwear, like the camera was like right there behind you. And yeah, it was just it was a unique experience. But training with Juliana was amazing. Like I wanted to be on her team from the beginning. So the fact that when like I opened the door and it was her, I was like, oh my God, like thank you. Her passion is so like present every time she's in the room. Yeah. And she's nice and she comes in with a game plan, and her team is like amazing. I went in there and she had a jiu-jitsu guy in boxing and her MMA coach and another MMA coach. And they were all high caliber. Like they all addressed us and our specific needs. It wasn't like one thing for everyone. It was, okay, these 2 people are fighting. We're going to work with them. And then when it's your turn, it's your turn. So it was amazing being able to be around such high caliber coaches, and also being able to train twice a day and being able to go back home and rest and not worry about anything. It was nice. It was different because, you don't have phones, you don't have TV, you don't have books to read, but you can't.
Not even books.
No, you can't bring. You could bring like spiritual books, like the Bible, one of this was in this emotional intelligence class, and she brought the paperwork because she had to read something daily. But besides that, you couldn't have like a fictional book or like anything.
Did you see like any benefit to being away from your phone for like 6 weeks, like getting away from social media and all of that?
Oh, for sure. Like in the beginning, it's weird, right? Because you want to like text your friends, or you want to like, I feel like sometimes people use the phone as a safe space, like if they don't talk to someone, they're like, okay, they don't want to deal with something. Okay. But I thought it was weird in the beginning, but then amazing, like no distractions. Like you can't hide from your thoughts. You can't hide from your feelings. And you don't even have to go on this like weird world Instagram and see other people doing, other things and worry about them. Like no one else but you. And you remember, like I don't have to worry about anybody else. Like I just worry about myself and just take care of what I need to do. So it was definitely cool. And it was weird getting my phone back, like typing and stuff. I was like, it was like slow motion at the beginning. It was like so weird. And then also like the sensory experiences when you get like your phone back and you see, like you hear music, because you're not allowed to hear music either.
Oh my God.
And it was so weird. Like I remember my first phone call after we left the house was Jesse. And I heard the voice and I was like, oh my God, that's my baby's voice. Like amazing. And I teared up and I was like, holy moly, I can't believe I'm hearing it right now. Yeah. But definitely weird and cool at the same time.
That's so sweet. Jesse is the purest soul that I've ever met in my life.
Yeah, he's special. He's definitely has this amazing light in his soul, and the way he can share it with others has taught me a lot, because I feel like he has no selfish bone in his body. Like he is very giving, and he's taught me a lot about that.
Yeah, it's so good just to even have good people like that in your life. You mentioned earlier about like social media and distractions. I always just love hearing other people's opinion on that, with like who are high performers. Like, do you do stuff on the daily to avoid going on social media? Like, do you have any kind of like restrictions where you're like, phones out the room at night, or anything you take to like stay off of it?
So yeah, when I go to bed, there's no TV in my room and there's no like phones in my room. Like we leave our phones outside and I can hear the alarm. So I just walk up and turn it off and stuff.
Oh, okay.
And then as far as like what helps me is I have this, I just like click the side of my phone twice and then it goes to like red light. So then I just remind myself that like, oh, okay, I'm not supposed to be on my phone. And then if I am on my phone, it's like the red light. So it's not hurting my eyes. But, yeah. And it's like, it's easy. You can just switch it on your phone for like nighttime or however. But those are the main things. Like either I put it on red light and then I just don't keep it in my room at all. So when I'm going to bed, I'm like here for bed.
Yeah.
And that's it.
For people who don't know, because I still feel like a lot of people don't know how crazy the life of a professional MMA fighter is. What is your basic day like?
Really, it's just like training almost all day. And then I live in California and then my trainings aren't so close. So like before a fighter, I would go to Temecula, which is an hour, 50 minutes away from me. And then I would go another to my strength and conditioning, which is an hour away from that place. And then I would go back home, which is an hour. And then I would either do like a yoga class or like do something extra. Now that I'm back, I kind of saw the benefits of not driving as much because you don't get as tired as much anymore when you're not driving that much. So I kind of like switched up my schedule a bit. You know, I wake up, I do my morning rituals. I ground myself. I go. What are
your morning rituals? I gotta know.
Yeah, so I'll wake up and I like to read books that kind of like to say like open up my heart or open up my spirit, like things that just like kind of expand me. So either do that or I go straight to like I have this little nook in my living room. It's like here's the couch and on the side on the floor is like my little nook. Yeah. So like when like, hey, I'm right here. And I just go back down. But I'll journal for a while and then just write. And then just depending on how I'm feeling, I'll pull some oracle cards out or been getting really into like tarot deck. And then ask my question. I'll shuffle, I'll get the answer, I'll interpret it. And then I'll either like sit and like stretch or do some movement. During COVID and the pandemic, I took some Reiki classes. So sometimes I'll go through all like my points chakras? Or like chakras, just the main ones. I know there's like more, but just the main ones. And then if I'm like feeling kind of like anxious or not, or just like unsure, I like to do this thing where like I like gather my space around me and I kind of just like, this is my space and like nothing and no one can enter it. You know, like this is my space and like I can do and be whoever I want in my space and it's okay. This is my space and I'm like fucking powerful in my space, you know? So I like to do kind of things and then, I get ready, make breakfast and get ready for practice.
Do you think fighters have a more connection to like the spiritual world where it's like they're more in tune with it because of what they do is so... I feel like fighting is the most rawest form of life. Like everything else is playing compared to actually doing combat.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Like I've met some fighters who don't have any like spiritual practices or don't. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's different for everyone. Some people are just like crazy and they love to fight, you know, and they just, and that's their thing, you know, they're like, I want to see blood. Yeah. And some other, like the one who just fought like Jiri against Glover, you could see he's very spiritual and he takes it to another level. So everyone has their own thing of how like they can, you know, become better and like mixed martial arts or connect it. But I mean, for me, I feel like this whole journey of like mixed martial arts and wrestling and everything, it was like hand in hand with like my spiritual journey. It was like as one thing transformed, the other thing transformed, and it just kept transforming. And now I'm here.
Yeah, that's so awesome. What does fighting do for you? Like what do you, what would be the best way to say that? That was such a broad question. I apologize for these.
No, but I understand what you're trying to say or what you're trying to ask. So, I would say that what fighting does for me, I so I don't think it like does anything, like it's like doing something. I feel like when I'm fighting and I'm at practice and I'm like on this like mindset of like, being very aware of like what I have to accomplish, I kind of feel like I'm coming home. Like I feel it feels nice. Like it feels familiar to my body. Like being at practice and I don't know, just moving and just, you know, being able to like grapple or punch and expressing myself. Like so if anything, I think mixed martial arts helps me express myself in a way that I can't sometimes. When when I was little and I was younger, I had a hard time like expressing my ideas, and I felt like I could never use my voice. And if I wanted to say something that I was like super passionate about, I would like start crying. And I just like, and then I found the sport where like I can move and I can express myself and I don't have to say anything.
Ladies and gentlemen, we had a brief disconnection due to Jesse Doyle, the Ginger Ninja, coming in.
Coming in hot.
Yeah. We're discussing what MMA does for you. And you were talking about it was very profound until Jesse rudely interrupted.
I don't know. Back on, but let me see. No, I think I finished with how I said that when I do MMA, I feel like it's my home. Like I feel safe, and it gives me a way to express myself where I don't have to use words, like, for every situation, it's just like a body movement. I don't have to say anything. I can just move however I want and be however I want in a way that like I can't do like in normal life. But so it just, I don't know. I always have this thing in my mind about like expanding and contracting. And I feel like sometimes in life, there's things that happen to us and we contract and we contract. But when I go to MMA and I go to practice and I'm on the mat and I'm like doing what I love, I feel like I'm just expanding and I'm like becoming bigger and I'm growing. And I'm like, I don't know. It's just, for me, it's a beautiful feeling. And also feel like right now at this moment, that's what I'm called to do. Like everything that's in my life, all the events that have gone by, like I feel like the universe has just been like guiding me. Like I'm just hand in hand with the person. The universe is like here, like over here, or like, like what about this one? What about the Ultimate Fighter? Like, okay, no, that one didn't happen. What about this? And I'm just like, okay, like lead the way. And like, I'm here for it. Like, just, I want to be able to give myself as much as I can. And then the universe just takes care of the rest. And that's just kind of what it feels like. I'm just, at home.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's something that I wish people would experience, because it's like some people see this where they're like, oh, she got an Ultimate Fighter. Like, that's great for her and everything. But like people don't see all the hard times and all the things that didn't work out. And it's like you kind of need all those things to happen to have you ready for when opportunity does happen. You have the wherewithal to be able to handle that moment. Yeah.
And it's funny because, I can say, oh yeah, that's true. But I bet you anything that if something else were to come up, like I wouldn't, so if something bad were to come up or something hard were to come up, I'd not want that to happen. I'd be so resistant. I'd be like, what the fuck? Like, why is this happening? Like, universe, like doing this, like I've been this, and now that opportunity, didn't go through. And then you reach that point where like, oh, now I get it. Like I had to go through all that. And that's why. But I agree with you. Like there's so many things that didn't turn out and it didn't happen and that sucked, and that like we're always like, I'm very like a 100, like I feel everything. So I've been heartbroken many times, and then I got to fighter, and like all those heartbreaks were like 100% worth it. I would go back and feel pain for that, for what I'm experiencing right now, like 100%.
Yeah. Where did you grow up at? Did you grow up in California?
So I was born in Mexico, Irapuato, and I'm at 3 years old. I moved to New York, then Connecticut, and then our family made our home base in La Quinta, California, and I went to La Quinta. Yeah.
Do you go back to Mexico a lot, or?
So I did when I was younger, and then when I got fighting, it was like I said, I'm a very 100% person. I like became super obsessed, you know, and I didn't want to go back because if there was an opportunity and I got called or I could do this, like I needed to stay here and like be ready. So through like my MMA journey, I hadn't been able to travel back. And then just recently, like I went back, like I think last month I went with Jesse.
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
yeah, it was such an awesome experience. Like I feel like when I was younger, I needed to be 100% obsessed and be able to not be around things that could distract me. And even though I lost some family time and it sucked, it helped me tremendously in my career. But now I'm at this point, like I can take my training anywhere. Like I have a really good, and I can do you know, MMA anywhere. Like I can shadow box, I can shadow wrestle, I can, lift weights, I can run. So going back home was so like, I don't know, back to Mexico was such a breath of fresh air, like being able to be with my family and then doing what I love and not having to worry about like what's next or got to do this, got to do that.
Have you seen, since the show came out, have you seen like kind of like the Mexican culture coming out and supporting you? Because I feel like on the show they were like, "Oh yeah, this is great."
I did get a lot of people on Instagram like DM me and be like, "Yeah, like that's like your Mexican spirit, like love it, like we're here to support you." And then my family in Mexico, like, oh, it's just I love my family in Mexico. Like I always feel their support, even through a phone call or through like a text or through anything. Like they love it. Like they're about watching the show and like asking questions. And my grandma, who she's not doing so well, so she's mostly like and was like always asking my aunt to watch like the YouTube video and to watch my fights. And like she just says, like I'm her guerrera, like the warrior spirit, and like and, if she were young, like she could do it too. And so but yeah, they're my whole family in Mexico is very supportive. Yeah,
that's awesome. How many more episodes are left on the show? I keep watching. I'm like, when she's coming back soon. I know it.
So I come back next week, episode 10. And then I think so it's 10, 11, 12. So 3 more. Okay. It should be 3 more fights left. Yeah.
Okay. So this episode drops on 4th of July, which is Monday, correct?
So
the first.
So it comes out on ESPN Plus Monday at like 8 p.m. And then you can watch it on Tuesday at any time because it's already aired. Okay. And then I don't know when it goes on YouTube, but my family in Mexico, since they can't have like ESPN Plus because of like something, I don't know, with the internet or like the restriction code. Yeah, they just get on YouTube. So it somehow airs on YouTube after it airs on ESPN Plus.
This is amazing. Like what an opportunity to have, and you're seizing it completely. Where do you want to go with this, Laura? Not to ask you the most generic questions.
No, that's not, I want to go like all the way. Like,
I love it.
I want to go to where I can't go anymore. So if that's like, belt and champ and then defending it and defending it and defending it, like that's where I want to be. Like I said, if I'm going to do something, I don't want to be mediocre at it. And I don't want to I don't want to half-ass it. And I don't want to do it with like an intention. I want to do it like fully present, and I want to put my whole self into it. So if I'm going to be doing MMA, which I love doing right now at this moment, I want to go all the way. I want to be the best in class. I want to stay there, and then we'll just see what happens afterwards.
I believe in you. This will be a golden episode one day when I'm like, I had the UFC champ on my podcast, off the Ultimate Fighter. I have another question. We're going to take a hard turn. You post a lot of stuff with mushrooms in it. Are you into psychedelics?
I am very into psychedelics and plant medicines.
Hell yeah. I'm recently at this moment baby stepping into that world with microdosing.
Oh, I think that's perfect. I post a lot about mushrooms, and I've taken like macro doses, but I don't do that often. Like if any, what I do often is Cambo, which is a non-psychedelic. And that has helped me like tremendously.
Canva?
Cambo.
Cambo.
So it's from the Amazonian frog, and it's essentially like,
Ooh,
yeah, it's frog poison.
tight.
And I don't think I have it on my arm. You can't see, but they burn the first layer of skin off, and then it's like a little dot, and then they put the poison on, and it's a really good, like it's really good for your health, like with the antibodies, and then you purge and
Whoa.
like, and then you can purge emotionally. And my last like 2 sessions were amazing. So I mean, I love psychedelics, but I also love Cambo, and that's a non-psychedelic. That's a very like somatic medicine where you're very in your body experiencing like right here, right now, and you're almost like getting yourself sick, and whatever the medicine feels like shouldn't be there or needs to heal, like it addresses that, and then you purge and you throw up.
Oh my God. So, okay, so it's non-psychoactive, and where does this happen? Where do you get this frog from?
So, the only reason I did it in the very beginning was because I had learned that the people in Peru, or the Amazonians, they take it before they go hunting.
Okay.
So, put the poison on themselves, they purge, and then makes them like stronger. Like that's what they do.
Whoa.
And I was like I'm gonna do this before I fight. Like I want to go get stronger before I fight. So that's literally why I did it. I didn't have like
dude, USADA better not watch this. I'll cut this out if USADA.
No, I don't think
your frogs aren't illegal.
Yeah, frogs are fine. But it's a very like intense experience. Like my first one kind of put me off to doing any more because the points, I had 4 points on me, but I wasn't purging. And then there's like, some people who work with, like plant medicines, and it's either they have like this very masculine or feminine energy. And when it's masculine, it's like, you got to feel this, and we're going to go in deep, and you got to go. And feminine energy that like nurtures you and says like, how are you feeling? Can we do another one? Like, are you ready? And the first one was very masculine, and like she put 2 more points on me, and I had already had 4. And then I like projectile vomited everywhere.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I literally like my head went back, and then I was like, blah! And I missed like literally sitting with the bucket, and I missed it. And I was like, after. And if this like puts you off, like they wipe off the medicine, you like it comes off. You come down from it within like 2 to 3 minutes.
Wow.
So yeah. But then I've gone to other women, and my most recent one, like she's here in OC, Jessica. I'm gonna give her a blast because I love her, Jessica, for or a shout out, not a blast, but a shout out. I love the way she puts the medicine. She does it 1 by 1. So once you put the 1 point in, like you start feeling it, and then it kind of like goes away, and then you put the 2nd point on, and then it starts building and building, and she only gives you as much as you can handle. Like there's no forcing. What does it feel
like when you first start feeling it? Like
it feels pretty bad. Like you start getting really hot, and then you feel super nauseous, and then you really feel like you have like the flu, or like you're just like not in the best, physical health.
Yeah.
And then it's for me, it's also like a lesson in a lesson in like trusting that the medicine will do its work, with like plant. I feel like it's very alive, like there is this like spirit in it. So it's trusting the medicine, respecting the medicine, and then letting go, even with like the purge. Cause like when I was younger, I hated the feeling of like being nauseated and throwing up, like, and I didn't like it. And now that I've done like some like ayahuasca and now Cambo.
You've done ayahuasca also?
Yeah, I've done ayahuasca. You just kind of understand like the throwing up part is just the letting go, but your body doesn't want, like that's all. Like if your body doesn't need it, why hold it there? So you just let it go, don't resist. Throw it. Yeah.
That's amazing. You and Jesse, dude, if you guys have a kid, it's just going to come out a little spirit. Like it's just going to be this little floating. Yeah. It's going to come out like this, just fucking floating.
I would love it.
What was the ayahuasca like?
Um, so I've only done it once, and it was very like very powerful. And I did that one. So the space that I was in going into it, I was very much like it was kind of, I was like, I don't know what's going on, you know, in this world. Like, we're living on this like fucking rock that's like floating through space. Like, who am I? Like, what's the point of anything? Like, I like knew that there was like something out there, but I couldn't feel like the connection. And I think I went in there and my intention was I just want to feel like the love or what, you know, just feel love. And it was 2 days. And on the first day, I didn't have any like psychedelic experience. It was actually very like physical, where like I didn't want to throw up, and then I was kept going outside, and then kept coming inside to the ceremony. And then I was like holding on to my water bottle, like, this is mine, nobody touch it, it's my water. And then I kind of just got like, oh my God, Laura, you're not in control right now, and you have to let go. And none of it, like, really, nothing really belongs to you, and you're going to be okay if you just have yourself. And then I threw up, and then I felt fine. And I was like, oh my God, that's all it takes, is like to understand that like I'm here, you know, I'm guided, I'm held, and whatever is happening, and it's for the benefit of my good. And then the second day, I did have like this vision where like I saw myself being buried. And it wasn't like kind of like reassuring, like, you know, where there's death, there's birth, you know, like a cycle. Just kind of understanding like that part that came in here, like, you don't like need her anymore. Like, she served her purpose, you know, like she got you to where you are, but she's no longer needed. So she can be like laid to rest. And then I also was going through things with like my family because they didn't understand my career.
Yeah.
And my dad was very like, you need to be a professional. He's a doctor. So he's like, you need to be a doctor. You need to be a lawyer. You need to do something. Like, you know, he didn't understand like why I loved it so much. So talking to him was very hard. Like, I couldn't communicate with him, and I would avoid calling him, and I would avoid like being in his presence almost.
Yeah.
And then being in the ceremony, you know, it's just like little things. Like, I felt his love like radiating on my body. Like, and I can't even describe it with like our English language. Like, I could just feel love. And it was like, and I finally understood that like everything he said about like, you know, being, you got to be this, you got to do that, or why are you doing that, just came from a place of like love. Like, I could tell that he really loved me, and he just wanted to see me be established.
Yeah.
Yeah. Successful. And what he thought was success is different from what I thought. Yeah. I just didn't understand. I just thought that he didn't like care, and he just didn't have my back. But then I got it. I was like, oh, like, he just thinks about it differently, but he loves me. Like, he loves me a lot. And then I also got like a vision of my mom. And if you ever meet my mom, she's like a ball of like love and joy. Like, literally, she really is like a ball of love and joy. Like, she just walks around with this like beauty inside of her, like inside and out. And then I felt my dad's love, and then I just felt my mom's beauty. And it was like amazing. And then I was like crying and yawning, and I just kind of like let it go and walked out of it like, wow, like, I don't know. Like, I before that I had felt like connected to God, but then that very like reassured it that like, even if I am on like a, you know, a rock floating through space and I don't know what's going on, like, it doesn't really matter because I'm here and I'm okay and connected, you know, and whatever happens, you know, when I die, that's the place where I'm going to go, and it's going to be fine.
That's the most beneficial ayahuasca experience I've ever heard about. Just that's like life changing. Like, I feel like everybody goes through that. If you're like an empathetic person where you're like sensitive to emotions, especially family, like, you know, you want to connect. And I feel like a lot of people, they go through that with their parents, and some people never come out the other side. They always hold on. And it's like, I've dealt with that a lot with when you grow up and then you look at your parents and you realize that when your parents raised you, they were just kids trying to figure it out too. And they had no idea. And they're like, if you just take a path that's not traditional, they're not trying to push you away from it because they don't love you or they don't think you'll be successful. They're scared. They're like, you're supposed to go to college. You're supposed to get a job and buy a house and have kids. And it's like, you're going to go punch other girls in the face. Like, it's crazy on paper.
I mean, my parents had me when my mom was like 20, 21. And I'm 32 right now. And I can't imagine like having a kid right now and like raising it and stuff. And my dad was like in medical school trying to raise us. So yeah, when you finally understand that like your parents are just trying to love you and guide you in a way that they only know how, you stop taking it personally. You're just like, okay, well, now if my dad says anything about like, you should do this, you should do that, I'm like, hey, that's a great idea. Like, oh, that's yeah, like I'm doing this and maybe I'll do that later. Like that was a good idea, but I'm going to keep doing this as long as like I can.
Was there a time where you thought about being a doctor?
Yeah. So before, like I had never done martial arts in high school. So, I got introduced to jiu-jitsu when I was a senior, but only did like a month of it and then had to go to college. But I went to UCI to do pre-med.
Wow.
And then didn't really like it. And I was like, this is so lame. Like, I don't think I want to be a doctor. So then I went to Biola because I was like into Christianity and God and the Bible and thought I wanted to be a pastor. So then went to Biola and they're like, well, if you switch your undergrad to Bible studies, it's like another 4 years. Like it's a big switch. So just take it as a minor. And I was like, okay, I'll take it as a minor.
Yeah.
And then I dropped out. And then went to college and I finished at Simon Fraser in Canada for psychology. So what was the question? Did I always know I was going to do this?
I don't know. No, that was beautiful though. Was it psych?
Doctor. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did. When I was little, I would actually cut or inject my dolls with water. So, cause my dad would like bring back and stuff and he trusted me not to like go poking anyone.
Yeah.
But I would play doctor and I would have like a scalpel and I would open up my dolls and I actually like looked up to my dad and I still do. Like I wanted to be a doctor. I thought that was like the only way to help people was like, being a doctor and, being able to like either diagnose or prescribe or, now I understand there are like ways in helping people. But yeah, when I grew up, I thought that's what I was going to be, was a doctor. And then now I'm not.
It's crazy because what you do now is you have such a broad range to be able to help people, like just by being you and being an example, like, even just the stories you post, like you're a very inspirational person, like the little things you post, like they just resonate, so you're out there helping people,
Thank you. That means a lot. Like, and that took a long time to understand that, like, you don't have to help someone by like doing something physical for them, like the most help I've gotten from people are the ones that like actually help regulate like my nervous system and they're not doing anything. They're just giving me space to like be me, Yeah. And if anything, that's what I would love to be like after I take MMA as far as I can and, give my body to it and then, just leave it all there. I essentially like I call it like space holder, but I mean I would love to host ceremonies or be able to do like somatic work or like breath work or like something that like allows people to give back their like bodies to themselves and their feelings and their emotions and being able to like hold it in a very safe space.
Yeah. That's such a powerful thing that you can do for people. I think that's why whenever people are honest and vulnerable and are like, hey, I'm not perfect. Like I always hated about social media is when people put on this front that they're not affected by anything, that they're not going through struggles and like my life is perfect. But it resonates with people so much to actually post like, hey, we're all struggling. We're all dealing with this. We're all working on this, Yeah,
because we all feel the same things, and even though, I think it's healthy to post things like that because then, you're able to connect. And I think connection is like very important in a world where like you're always on your phone and you're not like very interactive. So if the least you can do is see someone is going through the same thing that you're going through, like at least, you can get out of it. So yeah, I agree that we should be able to be a little bit more authentic without caring what other people think or are seeing, would post or would comment. Like, in the grand scheme of things, like, that really doesn't matter.
Dude, when you start doing rituals, I'm going to be your first client. I'm coming down. I'm doing everything. I'm eating frogs. I'm drinking ayahuasca, whatever I got to do to get to the other side,
I do have, one of my shaman ladies, Nikki, she's in Pasadena. I love her too for Cambo. She gave me a Cambo stick. So I haven't done it on anybody, but I'm like just kind of waiting for like the call of like when it's ready to start practicing. Yeah. And then right now I'm like so focused on MMA and everything. Yeah. Like I guess I could make time, but the time that I have, I'm like tired from training. Right. But I find like a balance where I can do both. I would love to be able to like serve Cambo or like do other stuff too. Yeah.
You just said about being tired from MMA. This is something I struggle with because I'm like an overworker where I'm like, I like am guilty about resting. Do you suffer from that at all where you're just like, or are you centered now where you're like, I need to rest. This is when I'm home, I'm chilling.
So yes, I've like understand that rest is important, and I like cherish my rest time and joy on like some days doing nothing. Like literally, like Jesse and I are such homebodies that we can really do nothing and just stay at home, and we love that. Like I love my time with him and being able to just like.
What does that look like? Is it like sitting on the couch watching Netflix?
Sometimes, yeah.
Jesse's like, over there looking jacked in some shorts, just chilling, gardening.
Always having a 6-pack. But yeah, it literally looks like that. And like either like, taking Zuli for a walk or just like, taking her to dog beach or to dog park and then coming back home. Like, and it's weird because the only times I do feel guilty are the times where I go on Instagram and I see someone else posted a picture of them working out or of them doing something. And I'm like, oh, fuck, like I should do that. Like I should be there. But then, like I said, we got to remember like, okay, that's their life. That's what they have to do to feel good or to get to where they want to go. Like what I have to do is rest. And I'm caring for myself right now, not caring for what she's doing, what I'm doing. So I've gone a little bit better of like reminding myself that like, this is my journey, and my journey looks different than his and hers and, whoever is posting or saying they should do it like this. Like, I'm going to do it the way it feels right for me and the way it feels the best for my body, my soul, my spirit and everything. Yeah. But it is hard. Sometimes you feel guilty, but always got to go back to like your truths.
Yeah, I love that. This will be the last question. I don't want to take up too much of your time. But you mentioned that you were going to church, or going to church. I assume you were going to church. You were going to school and thought about being a pastor. Yeah. What made you? Did you kind of just like open up your view of what God was, and you're like, I don't know if it's this contained into this religion, and it's more of a spiritual open thing?
Yeah, I felt like with being a Christian and going to church, I just felt like it was like God was very like boxed. Mm-hmm. Then I still can't wrap my mind around like it being the only truth. Yeah. And then believing that like everyone has to believe that way. Yeah. I don't understand that. And that's one of the main reasons that like I kind of stepped away. Like I feel like I do go, I mean, I don't mind reading the Bible. I feel like there's amazing like spiritual truths. Exactly. And like if Jesus was real, he was like the dopest guy ever, like he was completely
he's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. He was fucking cool. Like he died for everyone, like he took the sins of everyone. Like not many people do that. So I feel like if he was real, like he's a perfect example. I also felt like some people in the Christian community, like kind of like use Jesus as a way of being a certain way, but never really follow his example. And it just, I don't know. I have like so many things about it that I just had to like turn away. And I'm not saying like I'm turned away forever. Like I might, go back, but I just feel God is so much more than, church and Bible and like all these things. I was like listening to a podcast by Rob Bell, and he said something that along the lines of like, imagine if like Jesus were to come back and he were to say like, you're still using this book, like no one anything new, like no one has learned anything new, you guys are still using this book. And then when he said that, it kind of like opened my mind of like, yeah, like why can't I learn from like different like religions or spiritualities or like different people, you know, who don't even believe in God? Like why, what's the problem? So I just feel like God is everywhere and God is in everything, and I want to, you know, I guess just be able to experience God in every form. And that wasn't the place that I was being able to like experience God, you know?
Yeah. Did psychedelics help with that? Or was it you were already on your way out? You were kind of shutting the door and psychedelics were there like, hey, here's God too.
No, I think when I did my ayahuasca experience and I came back from it, it just opened a new world of like different possibilities of like what, you know, what's right, what's wrong, what's good, what's bad. And I kind of just dived into like other things. Like I read different books. I, you know, tried to like get on or learn from different people on podcasts about like their spiritual experience. And it was just like, it just didn't serve me anymore. Like it wasn't helping me grow. It was like not a tool that I needed anymore, you know? So it definitely like opened my eyes to like that God is like way bigger than what I thought he was. And that I can't like, you know, even using words doesn't do service to like what God is, you know? And we try to like rationalize God and okay, yeah, it's in the Bible and it's this and this is God. And it's like, okay, maybe it's not though. You know, maybe you're like wrong and that's not God at all. And some people take such offense to that. Like, I can't be wrong.
Yeah.
But like, why? If you're wrong, then you're wrong. And then it's okay.
I think it would just puncture their entire existence of what they think reality is. And they're like, I'm not ready to do that work.
And I think that's why I love psychedelics and I love Cambo and I love these things that take you deep, because I feel like our reality needs to be punctured. You know, I think we need to go spaces that kind of like disrupt our mind and like kind of think like, what the fuck is going on? Like, is this true? Is that true? Like, we need that like discomfort. Like, we can't just always keep believing the same thing. I mean, you can, but you have to have like set points of like, is this still serving me? Is this belief system still serving me? Is this belief system still live in? Is it still helping me? And if it's not, then it's okay to let it go. You know, like have to keep like holding on to it and seeing through that.
Yeah. I feel like people get into like an autopilot of years and years of just like feeding their dopamine just to survive. And they wake up and they're like 65 and they're like, I've been in a cubicle. Like I haven't really been living. And I've been, you know, looking at everybody else's standards of living and just kind of going through the cycle of these weird social hierarchies. And you never stop and be like, am I enjoying any of this?
Yeah. That's the Matrix, man. I'm kidding.
Go ahead.
Oh, go on. No, you go ahead.
It was one of the craziest things. I don't know if you've ever heard of this game. It's called baseball and you play it with a blunt. It was just crazy in high school where it's a blunt. Like if you're
like smoking?
Yeah. Marijuana, the devil's lettuce.
I didn't smoke in high
school. But what you would do is you would take a hit and then hold it in and then you'd pass it and you'd wait for it to come back to you and then you'd blow the smoke out and then blow in. So you literally would smoke as much as you could, as fast as you could until the blunt was gone. So you were getting way too much marijuana, like to the point where I literally like could barely function as a human. But I remember it like must have taken me close to like a psychedelic state because we drove into the parking lot of, they cut out. Is it Jesse again? God damn it, Jesse. This is the second time.
It was my battery.
No. But it took me to this place where we pull into the parking lot of the school and I literally saw the entire school as like an animal hierarchy. I was like, this is so dumb that there's a cool parking lot that there's, oh, these are the cool kids. Oh, these are the nerds. These are the emos. And I was like, why are we all wasting our time pretending like any of this matters? Like, I think it was like a dip into that world of actually doing like a reflection. Like, is this worth anything in real life?
Yeah.
Like the cool kids in high school? Like, it's so silly.
Yeah. No, I think that's exactly what people need, is to have like those disruptors, like those, like, are these rules even relevant? Like, yeah, what is cool, what's not cool? Like, who is even making this stuff up? Like, like who, why do they get the power? Like, it doesn't make sense. But that's why I feel like that's why I love plant medicine, and why I like to go into like those like dark spaces and be able to like put light on like my own shadows, and really being able to understand like where all my like insecurities and triggers and, like coping mechanisms, like where are they really coming from? And are there other ways to like think and believe, or even things to do that can help me, be in this world, a little bit better, and help me grow a little bit better.
I love that. Lara, it's been an amazing podcast. It's been an honor to have you on here, future UFC champion of the world. I'm excited to watch you fight again on Tuesday. This comes out on Monday. So everybody, after you watch this, go watch on ESPN Plus or find it on YouTube, bootleg it, MMAstreams.com. I don't know. And watch it. It's amazing. Where can people find you on social media?
So I'm on Instagram as Blessed Laura. I'm on Twitter as La Jefa. And then I'm working on my website right now. And once it's done, I'm going to put the link in my Instagram.
Awesome. Thank you so much for doing this. Everybody, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, check out all of Lara's stuff. Go watch her fights. Amazing. And follow on her Instagram. You'll get some great motivation daily.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Evan.